welcome, welcome, welcome here to the Console Wars, the placement rounds for the Console Wars to make it to DreamHack Atlanta, all part of our larger HRX this year. Finch here, joined by Taco. I'm happy to have you with me, Taco. It's been a minute. It's good to be back and back in such a big way here with all these teams.
And it's really exciting, too, when you understand that this is all leading up into the big event of DreamHack itself. These teams trying to find their way there, but keep in mind, only 2 of them are actually going to make it.
That's right. This is really tough. We have our brand new real format part of this, right? PS4 now is joining in. So we have the top 2 representatives from PS4 trying to fight their way in to make it into the event. On the other side, you're also going to be seeing some Xbox teams there. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the actual bracket. That way we can see how these teams are making it through. Now, Insomnia and InControl, your PS4 representatives, Insomnia from EU, InControl from NA are going to be battling it out to try and make their way through to actually DreamHack. And then over in the console side, on the Xbox side, we got Flashpoint going against Noxious.
And it's the best of both worlds, essentially. You get to see a little bit of European versus North American action.
That's
and
right, yeah.
Get a little bit of insight as to which region might actually have the upper hand as of currently.
And it's hard to say, really, because PS4 really is so new, isn't it? We have to kind of give them credit for looking as good as they do. This was their first split, was fall split, and then now they're right here at the table with the big boys, or at least the winner of this matchup will be. Again, it is going to be PS4 against PS4 here for this matchup. Insomnia against InControl is the first one we're looking up, and then once they make it all the way to DreamHack, they'll go up against those Xbox teams. But Taco, I really have kind of been impressed with just the PS4 scene on the whole. Yes, maybe there's some areas they can clean up, but for how little time they've had, they look great.
For how little time they've had, though, I think there's a distinct difference between being able to constantly watch competitive action, which has basically been the case here for PlayStation for quite some time.
Right.
I mean, it's not as if PlayStation hasn't been around for pretty much the same time period as Xbox, a little bit newer, but still, these players have had multiple opportunities to really get a chance to witness what competitive action looks like and to try and adapt that into their own play styles.
They absolutely have been able to, and you're right, we have starting to just finally see some identities get formed. In fact, a chance for you to learn a little bit more about that is InControl are standing by now for their first interview.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Tom Badger here, F. And right now I'm standing next to Outbowned. You might know him as Wheezy. He's the carry here. How you guys feeling today?
We're feeling pretty confident. Just want to get the game started so we can get rolling.
Yeah, I mean, you guys here representing the PlayStation 4 League. Obviously, Joltak from Xbox. He's an Xbox player. You got XCovi over here. You also have some experience on the sticks as well.
Yeah, I was coach for Astro a little bit, but this is my first time playing at LAN, so I just want to get in there and show what I could do.
That's one of the biggest differences. As a coach, it's kind of just like toss your players out there, hope for the best. Here, your hands on the wheel. What are you going to bring? How are you going to bring the victory to InControl?
I'm just going to play my game, dominate, do what I do.
You guys going to win this time?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Glad to hear that confidence. Good luck in your match. And we'll catch it back to you, John Finch.
Thanks, Tom, for that one. Glad to get a chance to hear from Outbound. Remember, some of these players we really haven't had a chance to talk with before. There's some familiar face, like they said, like XCovi and Joltak that you'll know, but good to hear from these guys. And a lot of confidence from this InControl roster that I would say, and I think that's right, that they should have some confidence because they've looked really strong online. They were 5-1, I believe, going in. Coalition right there on their heels that whole time. So I think he's right to say, get me in the game. I want to show what I can do.
Important to also know that Outbound was formerly the coach for Astro Authority, one of the top dominating teams on the Xbox side of things right now. So it's really interesting whenever you see that coach to player transition occur, because at times you might feel as though it could be a little bit awkward, but I think it helps provide a new depth to the game, or to at least your own personal game. And based off of that interview, I think Outbound's just ready to play.
Oh, that's what it sounded like to me, right? He wants to get in there and show everybody what he's capable of. But I like that you bring that up, right? That he has that sort of coach perspective, but now in-game for them as well, right? So maybe if he can find that balance between looking towards the big picture and having that in-game focus, that might be able to give them a small edge in this matchup. But we talked about it already, right? This team has a lot of experience. I wouldn't be surprised if they look really, really strong here in this set. We talked about how young PS4 is, but this team is not new to competition. At least a lot of them aren't.
A lot of them aren't. I think that's also another key thing to keep in mind is that some of these guys have been around the ringer before. They've come to a LAN and prior to ever competing at this one, and that could be really important because in comparison, Insomnia, most of these guys, they're entirely new to this.
Sure, it's going to be a tough matchup, I would say, for them on that other side. Taking a look at Insomnia, if they can try and make their way on through. Again, this is the EU representative on the PS4 side, and we have an interview with their coach standing by as well. Let's go ahead and throw it over to them.
Thanks a lot, guys. Here one more time. This time on the other side of the hall. I'm here with Insomnia's coach, Coach Scott. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good.
Glad to hear it. Representing the European side of things. This is your first LAN. A lot of players on your team, their first LAN. Talk to me about the confidence level coming in here today.
I think everybody's pretty happy. Scrims yesterday went really well, and everybody was kind of feeling good in the setup. Because obviously we got a lot of players from different EU countries, so it's nice to have everyone in the same room as well.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of different nationalities represented here. Your jungler actually had some experience playing on LAN, but a different game, Call of Duty. Do you think that's going to affect his play? Do you think he's going to come in a little stronger here?
Nah, he's got the biggest ego on the team anyway. The LAN doesn't matter.
Well, you guys are certainly equipped to do it. PlayStation 4, you guys going to take this set today?
Yeah, 100%. 2-0.
Fantastic. Before I let you go, I got one question. Anybody ever called you Yuzi before?
No.
All right, just toss that one out there. Thanks a lot. Back to you, Finch, on the desk.
Thanks, Tom. I agree. Maybe a little bit similarities there, but Scott clearly...
His cousin.
Yeah, cousins, perhaps. Yeah, a man all his own. And I like his confidence as well. The coach there for Insomnia saying that, this is a team that maybe if they don't have a ton of experience here, they certainly have confidence. They certainly have some competitive experience in the past to try and work with.
That's something I've always loved about console, though. These guys have an energy all their own that they constantly bring into the LAN environment. Of course, they're going to have to work through those soundproof booths, but I'm sure things are still going to get pretty noisy out here, and I love to see that kind of confidence coming out of the coach from Insomnia.
Yeah, absolutely, and he should be confident. I mean, Insomnia, they made a bit of a difficult time, I would say, making it here. They were about 4-2, so they didn't have maybe quite as much success as they did for InControl. They had some nipping at their heels as well, but they were able to finally, in the end, make their way here. So they know what it's like to sort of go through the gauntlet, to have a tough set and try and bounce back. They can use that here, I would say, in the LAN environment to try and take down InControl.
It almost begs the question, though, whether the European region might just be stronger as a whole in terms of their competition in comparison to North America. I feel like, at least when we watch the online portions of the split for console and PS4, I think that Europe seemed like it was a little bit of a closer horse race there in comparison to NA.
Yeah, I think in NA it was sort of a two-horse race, right? It was InControl up there and Coalition right there with them, and InControl, I think throughout the split, had, 3-2 against them in the record. They barely edged them out. So over there in Europe, it was much closer. I think Freaks T1 was the closest team at 3-2 to them, just trying to be right there behind them. So you might have something to say for that, but certainly we'll get our chance to see here in just a moment. Insomnia up against InControl. Picks and bans are on the screen. Remember, this is the first time a PS4 team is able to come to a LAN. We could have our first representative on the back end of this in just a moment. And right out the gate, Taco, Pele has been banned away. No big surprise that we're seeing a god like Pele banned out.
Just so much mobility and control with this god because of how quickly she can maneuver throughout the jungle. And same could be said for Susano. He's been seeing a pretty heavy rise of popularity in the console side of things. I think that Typhoon just being such a strong team fighting asset inside of those jungle corridors.
It is very strong, and I like Susano, and I kind of say this all the time about what I like from him is that he brings a control aspect out of the jungle along with decent damage and good mobility. He's hard to lock down, so you definitely want to take something like that off the table. On the other side, Insomnia are taking out Freya and Chernobog, two very strong flex picks. They can go hunter or mid. Both of these characters can very well. They can be carries in their own right. You gotta get those out of there, but that does mean InControl prioritizing Terra first overall over the likes of Baron, Mercury.
There's a lot of top priority picks right now that if you've been playing PC Smite, you might be, scratching your head a little bit here looking at these drafts so far. But Terra, no real shock here to see her coming through as the first pick for InControl, at least from my point of view, just because InControl constantly tended to lean towards this Terra throughout the online splits. I think that they really just like having that root capability on the ground to just keep zoning duties away from, or zoning the objectives essentially away from Insomnia.
Man, they're prioritizing both those Guardians early on here, Taco. The Cerberus is coming through as well, paired with Agni. So not only is that a ton of control between the walls, the cripple from Terra, Cerberus with the Stygian Torment, now he's also stripping away protections for this Agni to make him even stronger on the back end of this. So far, InControl have prioritized these magic damage dealers, these guardians, and I can see a cohesive strategy from it.
But Insomnia have managed to match them the whole way through so far. They've got a little bit of damage on their side also with the Jing pickup, but more importantly, that Athena Odin. So global rotations, even though Jing is technically the semi-global, it can still be really impactful in terms of just looking for those initial buff invades right away. And I think Odin could pose some serious threats towards this Agni Terra that InControl have picked up.
Yeah, this is a smart pickup into those two dash-reliant characters, right? Cerberus shouldn't have much trouble in that situation, but Odin could certainly cause some problems to the rest. We'll see if they try and prioritize some gods that can leap out of there on the back end of the draft. As Insomnia ban away the Ratatosker, they're worried about that global pressure coming out. They've already got it with the Athena, kind of with the Jing. They're trying to corner the market, so to speak, and take that away from InControl by banning away the Ratatosker.
Seeing the Zeus and Vulcan getting stripped away, though, InControl just not wanting to allow any sort of easy setup for this Odin. But the Fear No Evil from the Batz is deadly. Just looking at this composition from Insomnia, they are looking to go toe-to-toe with InControl's heavy crowd control.
That's so tough, right? I mean, you banned away two big circles, and there's still a pretty good big circle left over anyway in the form of that Unbot's Fear No Evil. So it kind of feels like what more can InControl have done there? At the very least, they've cut off a lot of the good big mage follow-ups from that Odin cage. There's still plenty more damage out there, but now Insomnia might have to go a little bit deeper into the pool as InControl are waiting on their second two picks. They've already got the Athena too. Even if this is not around the Odin taco, they have a ton of setup on Insomnia.
The big thing for me though is Insomnia, I think, kind of shut down InControl's dive mentality, because when you look at InControl's composition, Agni, Cerberus, Terra, that is immediate AoE control that you can then look to just initiate onto the backline with for free essentially, because the front line is going to be so preoccupied trying to keep that Cerberus and Terra at bay. You've got Agni with great space coverage due to those bombs, and because of that, Insomnia, I think, a little bit fearful of the Raven Ratatosker potential that they might have had for InControl there to just look to harass the Jing and the Ra in the back line. But Bakasura could struggle a little bit here up against this Ra.
He definitely could have some troubles, but Bakasura does kind of fit that role you were saying, right, where he does have some potential to get to the back line and cause some problems as well. It's just going to be if Insomnia can sort of peel him away. But like you said, Ra with the blind, right, with the heal, he can drop down at his feet. It might not be the easiest thing in the world for him to get back there and try and punish this Ra, but they've got the Odin on their side and the healing. Insomnia really thought this draft out.
They've got a little bit of team sustain to kind of match that which Terra can bring, because she has a little bit of sustain also, which you can build upon if you want, though it might take a little bit of shots towards her actual tankiness overall. But with a Cerberus right behind you, I think InControl can afford to be a little bit more flexible here.
Yes.
I am expecting this to be a Cerberus in the solo lane and a Terra in the dual lane, primarily because of the fact that even though Terra and Hou-Yi won't have as much lane control, or just maybe even looking to out-pressure Insomnia's dual lane with that Athena Jing, at least it's safe.
At least it's safe. We'll see if they can make that work for him. But I want to ask about this Ra taco, because I was thinking they wanted some much bigger burst on the back of all this setup, the Odin and the Athena. Is Ra enough? I mean, I was thinking almost a Scylla. Can Ra do that same job?
My primary concern here is I liked what Insomnia started with, but Batz was a great asset, or additional asset for the Odin cage, but adding on that Ra, I can definitely understand why you would have those worries, because I'm just not sure that Searing Pain is going to be able to cover enough of room inside of that cage to really pose an immediate threat towards InControl.
A lot riding on that Ra pick in particular. See if they can make it work for them, but we are ready to get into the action. Game 1, InControl Insomnia, get it to the casters.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're good.
Oh, I could hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you're good.
I could hear myself, and I was like, wait, is my mic even live here? InControl versus Insomnia, Game 1, NA versus EU. That's how we start things off in Console Wars this week, with me not even knowing I was live.
Well, we got to go, and then that's all that matters. And this is going to be a great match. I'm always really excited to see North America up against Europe and how these metas clash. And I do think that this Insomnia draft, they clearly went in with a plan to pick this Odin early on. They were trying to leave Freya open so that InControl would take it. InControl doesn't take the bait and go with the Agni instead, but that's kind of the same deal, right? I mean, that's still a character that can't get out of that Odin cage with any sort of ease. In fact, it's impossible for Agni to get out of it. No Phantom either early on, so Kovi, Joltak, and Shaolin all need to be somewhat careful around that Odin cage.
Yeah, ShaolinSSins on this right-hand side will be playing this Cerberus up against the Odin. This matchup specifically, I mean, I guess Odin dominates a little bit earlier on, although Cerberus' wave play isn't terrible.
No, Cerberus is kind of the most warrior you'll get out of a Guardian, where you can get some serious push going in your favor, but you don't really sustain super well unless you're willing to commit the jump, and that can be risky for you. But Digit is also going to have to be jumping in to clear the wave in general. So if Shaolin can continually poke out Digit, then he might actually gain control of this lane. The big thing is how Digit is using that shield. If he can use it to mitigate the damage coming from that ghastly breath, then he'll be A-okay. If he needs it to clear the wave, maybe Shaolin can start getting it in his favor.
Two different styles of junglers this time round, OhMyJhox and Rygaklu, Bakasura and Batz respectively. Now those two play the game a little bit differently. Yeah, sure, they've both got ultimates that they're going to play through, but the style of play is definitely something completely different.
That's right. Jox is there to control the team fights with his ultimate and really hit the entire team, as he's maybe thinking about hitting this duo lane here early on.
Right, he doesn't have Blink though, so he's going to have to manually walk up to the lane, and Kino's getting aggressive. Joltak did use the double dash shell straight away to avoid some of the damage from overhand smash, but the monkey toss is good, and now the auto's coming through. Kino will secure the kill. First blood for the Europeans.
If there's a silver lining for InControl, it's that the first blood goes to the support, but still an early gank by OhMyJhox, and Rygaklu doesn't really get a whole lot out of it. He may have been able to go in and steal the enemy XP camps. Looks like he did. And that's all he can really do from that position, but it just was Joltak taking a little bit too much poke and being too willing to dash through that wave to clear it.
Nice little play from Shaolin there. Just leapt over the bird bomb coming out from Digit there. Just shows he knows the matchup a little bit more so. Odin definitely a telegraph god and gives some, idea away that he's going to be using that leap.
No, that's what you expect out of the Cerberus and of a player of Shaolin's capabilities. I mean, you're here at LAN. I mean, only the top team from each region was able to make it to this LAN, so you have to be doing your job.
Little look back at the respawn first blood this game to see how Kino secured it for his team. Was a team effort overall, but at the end of the day, as long as they die, it doesn't really matter at that moment in time because, well, nobody wants to go in tower range.
No, and look, Kino may be getting a little bit of flack from his teammates for taking that first blood, but I've got no problem with it. He's one Jing way or auto or two away from being able to drop that kill in general.
Yeah, on the right-hand side now, bit of an engage around this blue bus from InControl, looking to steal it away, and have managed to do so, I believe, there. Just step it away, get a bit more experience in their coffers, and force the monkey back into his own part of the jungle.
And Digit is having some mana issues right now, so stripping away that blue buff is definitely a good look for InControl, because this will mean Digit has to stick around that lane a little bit longer maybe, and maybe have to back a little bit earlier than he really wants to. Shaolin really has had control through the early portions, but this does happen to Odin from time to time. Once he hits level 6, he's got 3 points in that bird bomb. That should be enough if he's able to use both the lunge and the Raven shield to clear the wave instantly, and maybe he'll be able to regain control there.
Been a bit of a while since we've seen some competitive smite, and on top of that, a couple of patches have come through as well. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because both mid laners still looking towards this Book of Thoth star. Even though we've seen Mage's Blessing get some love recently in terms of base power on it, is it still Book of Thoth over Blessing?
I think it's mostly character dependent, but it does end up meaning something for some characters. I think that Agni is a personal preference option because he uses Mage's Blessing really well since it procs off his passive. But if you're building Book of Thoth, most of the time, I'd say you want to start Book 2. Maybe if you're Giannis or Morrigan, a character where CDR does really, really help you, then I think Mage's Blessing is much more viable than it used to be.
All right, Gaklu's going to pay some attention to the dual lane himself now. Ultimate drop down, and Kino, he gets first blood, but then he goes back to base himself.
That's a perfectly timed gank from Rygaklu, because there's no way that Kino can ult out even if he was level 5, because there was just too much damage there coming.
Shaolin did some nice little work to Digit there. Could have looked for the ultimate, but actually, no, can't say that because he's already used it for that aggression there. Left-hand side, though, Best is a little bit far forward, has to use the beads. Worried about the ricochet.
That was a really good idea, though, from Outbowned. And Joltak playing aggressive. Outbound hit level 5 way before Beast did. And this is a really good idea by him to not use the ultimate right away. Just wait until the root comes through. If Beast doesn't want to use the beads at that point, land the ricochet and then drop the ultimate. It'll take Beast too long to walk out of it, but doesn't commit it right away. Now he's got kill potential in this lane, a lane that you normally have little to no kill potential.
And yet again, Rygaklu going to look to invade this blue buff on the right-hand side successfully once more. Bakasura, not the easiest god in the world to contest buffs against in the jungle?
No, nearly impossible. The E minion is just, there's no god that can out-secure you unless
I
they're
miss
using
Hog,
an
man.
ultimate. Did Hog even out-secure E minion? I don't think
well,
so.
I mean, once upon a time, you couldn't consume the minion. You know, it was a lower threshold to be able to eat that minion, but that's the years of Smite evolving. The mid laners, though, Book of Toth has been completed for XCovi, foregoing the boots early on, which is what we see Jose doing in the mid lane on that Raw. He wants that mobility, I guess, a little bit concerned about being caught in some CC traps.
And he needs to be able to follow up off of this mobility that Insomnia has. I mean, Jox is going to be potentially jumping in. He's got speed buff. He'll be pretty far away when using that Fear No Evil most of the time. Kino might be pretty far away when using that taunt, so he wants to be in range in order to get there and use that snipe. And I think that does make some sense. Plus, XCovi has the dash that Jose does not, so XCovi a little bit more survivable just based on his kit.
Important game for both these two teams, not because they're representing Europe and NA, but they'll be the very first PlayStation team to make it to the console wars at DreamHack and be the first representative of PlayStation completely to compete at a high level of Smite.
Both of these teams have already proven something that,
Sure.
you know, they're the first
But it's
PS4 teams
not
to ever
good
come to
enough,
LAN.
right?
It's never good enough unless you're
Unless you
winning
win.
the title. Exactly.
Yeah.
So then both these teams definitely have that sort of potential. I mean, the level of PS4 competition from the very beginning, I mean, it only started during the fall split, and these teams have already proven that they can play at a very high level, at least with where they started their competition. So I'm excited to see how they'll fare up against some of the longer established console teams on the Xbox side.
And that team's going to be Astral Authority. The winner of this will go on to face them at DreamHack. Astral Authority been around the scene for a while on console, especially on the box, so you'd be well aware of most of the names there, but both those, that team for sure, will be watching this set specifically live now to make sure they know what their opposition could be like.
And this is a team, either way, that Astral Authority has to go up against that I think could really surprise them. I think both of these teams, their styles are so different than that of the traditional Xbox side that I think it'll be an interesting matchup to see if Astral Authority comes prepared for this game. Look, Astral, as you mentioned, very talented, been around a long time, but they got to be ready.
Beast already uses beads, but it's Outbound being chased down now by the monkey as well. OhMyJhox takes down Outbound. And honestly, there's not much Joltak could do there than walk away, knowing. But now the rotation from InControl's here. It's a little bit late, and I like the rotation out of Jose here just to keep Rygaklu in check. They may lose the purple, but Insomnia came out okay with the kill.
Good patience again by Outbound. I've been impressed with his play so far, but when you just are pushed up that far, there's not a whole lot you can do in order to end up surviving. Jox has spent a lot of time over in this duo lane, and that's allowed Shaolin to really control the right-hand side with some help from Rygaklu. So both of these junglers have put some attention at least in the duo lane, but Rygaklu really the only one to spend time on that right-hand side. And Shaolin is a type of god in Cerberus that, I mean, if you just let him do whatever he wants in that lane, he's going to be a real problem come the team fights.
And now Digitbloze on this right side. Didn't manage to steal away the last blue, but Rygaklu's now making the rotation over here. And Digit could be in a bit of trouble. Nice stun out of Shaolin just to slow him down. Remember, the leaps on cooldown, has to drop the ring. Rygaklu still goes in, though. And immediately, here comes Kino.
There's a taunt, forces the beads, and Shaolin's still healthy here. Jump should be up soon enough, but his ultimate is down, and that's where this really gank went wrong, is that Shaolin used that Stygian Torment and hit nothing but air. Didn't end up pulling Digit back out of the safety of his tower. It was a well-timed ring and a quick Athena ult coming from Kino, but I think that may have gone better as long as Shaolin lands the ultimate.
Chuck still hanging around here. No ultimate for a few more seconds, but he is still looking to put the pressure onto Shaolin. So far from what I've been able to see, InControl have been better at the, well, a little bit later on the responses, I'd say, than Insomnia, who've been ahead of the pack a little bit more so. And actually, the counter ganks have been fast too.
They have been, and that's this global pressure from Kino really does help out as red buff invade attempted. Taunt onto XCovi. Snipe doesn't land, but Outbound needs to be careful as Jing comes around the back, but Kino ends up dying to the dot.
Yep, XCovi gets himself a kill, making it 2 for 2. Jox now on the rotation as well. Rygaklu towards that mid area near the left-hand harpies too. But there'll be no further aggression here. The purple buff is spawning on the left-hand side though, and InControl are in position to try and strip this away. It means that XCovi's may miss a bit of farm in the mid lane, but luckily enough, Rygaklu's going to be there to soak it up.
Sign of a good team that there's never a wave that goes unattended by someone on the team, and XCovi getting a little bit of extra experience and gold for his dual lane by stripping away the enemy purple buff is certainly worth his time. Now XCovi's back and finished the boots. He did all that with just boots 2. And he goes for the pen boots, a strong option.
Nice ult coming out from Shaolin because Rygaklu's there to make sure Digitbloze goes back to base the hard way.
And that time, look at that. He lands the Stygian Torment, and it ends up in a kill. Shaolin has been in control of this lane, no pun intended, basically this entire game, and is really starting to show it now. It'll be that much harder for Blaze to kind of withstand it now.
Definitely an awkward lane for Digit, though, as well, because he's got to deal with the Cerberus in lane, so he wants magical defense to deal with some of the damage coming out from the Cerberus. But then he's also got true damage and physical damage coming out from Rygaklu on the Bakasura. How do you build that? It's so difficult.
I think the Genji's Guard is the right idea in order to try and counteract that split of damage. It just gives you a little bit of health, some good magical protection, some CDR that'll help you out. And as well as that passive is very good for Odin to get those Raven shields up more and more once he gets hit by magical abilities. Like you mentioned, it's true damage.
Oh, he got it off the bank, and that means JhoX under a bit more pressure. Outbound still giving chase and gets the Suns down. JhoX will use the beads to prevent the slow and make sure he gets away. But beads for an ultimate out of the Hunter.
Well played there by Outbound, making plays here on the land stage now that he's actually got the controller in his hand and he's not wearing that coaching headset he was for Astral Authority last year.
Bombs down from XCovi, but round the back, JhoX was there. He gets stepped on by XCovi, but XCovi ain't more than he can bargain for. The Fear No Evil did a lot of work, but he still will get the kill. However, round the corner comes Beast to help out and make sure that Jose takes down XCovi. The run is on from Insomnia, though, to disengage this fight. 1 for 2 in favor of InControl.
Man, XCovi stays alive way longer than he ever should have. I think Jose just missed Raw Snipe off of Fear No Evil. I thought it was Aegis at first, but XCovi hasn't got it yet.
Oh, ShaolinSSins going to go in on Jose here, who's still only level 11, and the damage is just too much. Ra will fall down, and that makes InControl extend their lead to 6-3 and about 3,000 gold.
I just don't see a way where Insomnia wins fights that Shaolin's a part of at this point in the game. I mean, he is just massive right now on the Cerberus. Look at the damage he just did to Jose. I mean, 50-60% of his health gone from a 2-1 combo, and that's just not including the CC and the setup that it provides for the rest of the team. This is going to have to become an answer at some point for Insomnia, and I really don't know who's going to provide it. Doesn't look like it's Jose because he's not building any penetration. He's going for what will likely be a Chronos Pendant, I imagine. Can't believe that'll be a Rod, maybe a Doomorb to try and give him some cheap power and mobility. I wouldn't hate, but I think he really desperately needs Pen. Everyone from Insomnia should be discussing how can we actually kill this Cerberus.
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, we talked about how good Insomnia was on the rotations and the counter ganks, but InControl have done a better job farming throughout the map, stealing away purples consistently. And the blues, sure, kills and counter ganks are fantastic, but you have to get the objectives to make sure you get a lead. It's
really the blue buff invades that I think have helped InControl the most because it's set up Shaolin, a character who can carry. To carry through the mid-game. And it's also set behind the early game character of Insomnia.
Kino got baited by a ward, and that's going to force JhoX to help out with the Fear No Evil of himself. The snipe came out from Jose in the mid lane again, but it wasn't a ton of damage. And Kino, just trying to get back to the tier 1, has met Shaolin, and Shaolin is going to bring Ra to ride, but no one from the team was there to help.
Not quite close enough to follow up. XCovi just couldn't quite get the damage in, but another perfect rotation. Oh, that was close. Coming out of Outbound.
Accurate, that's what I would say for that. It was on the money, just the range was the issue more than anything else. But this has presented an opportunity now for InControl. The Gold Fury is being contested by Digitbloze, or the closest to it, I should say. But he doesn't recognize it. The red buff falls instead. InControl extend their lead.
And now it's the side lanes it's both of the side lanes right now for InControl are driving this game. And when you think of InControl, the first name that comes to mind for many is XCovi because he had so much success on Astral Authority last year that he's just kind of the de facto leader, at least on paper. And look, XCovi's got a 2-level lead. He's been playing well this game, but he really hasn't had to do too much because of how far ahead Shaolin has become and Outbound as well, making plays in that duo lane. There, it's forcing Beast's ultimate. It's forcing Beast to back, and that opens up the Gold Fury along with Shaolin's rotation over from solo. It's really been impressive so far from InControl.
Yeah, the experience lead really is on Rygaklu and Shaolin so far in this game. You'd expect it on the Bakasura, but the Bakasura has made an impact, as you've been saying, towards that solo lane. So that's most of where the issues are going to be coming from Insomnia now, dealing with, well, true damage Bakasura that's going to chunk you down in seconds, and then an unkillable Cerberus.
Digit again has already committed the jump, and Shaolin going to bring him in tower range, but Kino there with his ultimate will help himself out alongside his solo laner, and that'll get both of them out of danger.
Yeah, the ring was just dropped down. I think they need to try and burn that ring a little bit more so now. Digitbloze is going to be a little bit harder to kill as time goes on, as he gets tankier. Kino going to get a ton off onto Joltak, but Joltak's a tank and they don't care. Digit, though, doing good work to allow Insomnia to get some presence at this Pyro.
Good idea here by Insomnia. They needed something, and Pyromancer's a good way to get at least some sort of gold and experience your way. But this Odin pick is there to shut down the Agni and shut down the Terra, and neither of which have been caged at all this game by my estimation.
I mean,
It
we're
just
not
hasn't
in a
worked.
team fight to really see that happen, I would say, because he's been a little bit late or dead before those fights have even happened. Tier 1 tower in the mid lane goes down, though, InControl responding back to that Pyromancer immediately. And the Gold Fury being down for 3 minutes means we're probably going to go into a bit of a farming phase for a few minutes, as the global objectives, or the neutral objectives, so to speak, are all on cooldown.
And what you were saying earlier about these experience leads and the way that it's kind of shaken down so far for InControl, where it's the jungle and solo that have the big XP leads, you're already seeing it trickle over to Xcovi.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
And that's where these leads are problematic. It's when you can transition it out of one lane or out of one role and into others, where just because Rygaklu is there and he's big, that means, oh, well, we have to give this up. Xcovi now gets that experience, and that's really starting to help out InControl in other places around the map.
And the support is another place that we should talk about. It's a 2-level lead then for Joltak on the Terra. And that's one of the things that, as you say, they get a lead there, which means the support can go and soak experience a little bit more. Get a bit more free farm to stay ahead of the enemy support. 2-level lead or 1-level lead at the moment isn't that big, but it does make an impact with those relics, which means a Phantom's now available for Joltak. And like you said, you know, Digit on this Odin is supposed to be ringing in the Agni and the Terra. Well, Terra's going to have an escape plan.
Shaolin tried to blink but missed it. Rygaklu got his off though, and he gets the kill onto Digit, but here comes Kino.
Yeah, but Kino misses off the taunt, and the dive wasn't as impactful as InControl 1. They have to fall back. They've just for the kill onto Digit. But nobody can stop Shaolin again at level 16 with that tanky old build. With the Pestilence too, I do like to deal with the Ra.
Xcovi so healthy in level 16, gets all the damage. Blink works this time for Shaolin, and he nearly takes care of Jose himself. He does!
And now the race is on for JhoX to get away,
bomb.
but Xcovi dropped the bomb before the leap even happened. And this tier 1 tower is soon to follow. InControl really are their namesake right now.
They are looking dominant at this point. I mean, they're up 6,000 gold. Outbound has to take the fight now up against Beast, who jumps in. Beast dodges out that ricochet, but he's losing the trade.
It's all about who's got the confidence in their autos, and that airstrike immune by the Aegis. Outbound's ricochet will take a little bit longer, but the Aegis in response. Now the Athena all coming through too. The Beast, the dunk. The misplays from both. The result, though, is InControl get a fire giant. What a great call from them.
Very good call by InControl, but they really wish their Hunter was alive to receive that buff in this instance. Outbound just chokes 2 autos right after the Aegis from Beast, and that means that he loses Fire Giant buff for himself. It opens up this tier 1 tower on the left. Look, it isn't the end of the world for InControl, but that would have basically shut the door, it feels like, if Outbound's able to get that kill.
That's Outbound going for a highlight reel play of a 1v1 that you don't get to see too often in Smite these days, especially at about 18 minutes in. Over the fact that he knew his team was doing Fire Giant there by the comms that were coming through to him, and he'd already forced out Beast. He could have just walked away, right? And been happy that he still had his beads and his Aegis up, and it would have been okay.
Would have been okay, but that's where's the, you don't get a Giphy cat of the walking away from the fight.
I'm not got a Giphy cat, but I do have an INAP instant replay of the little engagement there between them. Let's have a little look back and see how this one played out. The fight is good, but it's all about composure.
Yes, and Beast doing a really good job of landing his autos through the Suns, which can kind of mess you up at times. It's something that doesn't get talked about quite as much.
I like the Aegis, by the way.
The Aegis is good. The bead's also there, and yeah, Outbound had 2 autos and needed to hit just one of them and went 0 for 2.
Good little play then coming out from Insomnia, but it didn't stop InControl getting that Fire Giant, as we mentioned. Now with this Fire Giant around 4 members' waist, they're going to take down the outer towers and look for the tier 2s, where Insomnia want to defend, but already InControl are trying to take down members.
Oh, Kino got out, and there's a good cage. That'll force the Phantom out from Joltak. Kino surviving there is huge. Now, he doesn't have his ultimate to get back in, still on cooldown from earlier.
Here comes JhoX with the blink. Fear No Evil hitting the whole team. Pushes Joltak and Outbound into the tower range, but there's no follow-up damage from Insomnia. Joltak takes down Digit. Oh, Beast has to get away again, and Jose is on the run. Kino can only try and peel. The towers have fallen, and the Phoenix could be under pressure next.
Searing Pain doesn't come out until after Fear No Evil is expired. That was a 4-man Fear No Evil, including the half-health Cerberus Cerberus that you need to kill, that just can't happen.
Kino still trying to frontline, but not frontline long enough against this whole roster of InControl being grouped up together. They don't have minions, though, but Shaolin is tanky enough to tank this for probably like half a year right now, and the Phoenix will eventually fall.
And that should be the left side Phoenix. Indeed it is. Just good healing coming from that monolith to make sure that everyone from InControl is safe and sound. And Jose, again, just has not been able to provide enough on this raw pick so far. He doesn't have any penetration, so he wouldn't have killed Shaolin with just the ultimate anyways, but it's got to hit somebody in that instance. He again, waits until Fear No Evil is gone, and then I believe whiffs it right after that. Fear No Evil is as good a setup as you'll ever get.
11,000 gold lead then for InControl. And looking good for the first game in this best of 3 and putting themselves towards the DreamHack final portion of the Console Wars tournament.
And you know Kobe really wants to play Astral Authority at DreamHack.
Yeah.
That's his old team, you know, the team that he had a lot of success with last year but fell short with at the World Championships. He kind of shouldered a lot of that blame from the community, whether it's deserving or not, for that shortcoming at Worlds. So I think that he wouldn't pick a better matchup for himself.
It might be Smite, but any single sport, when a team loses, people always try to put the finger towards a player of like, this is the reason they failed, you know? Some more than others, and some of them get better trade deals off the back of it, and others don't.
That's right. That's how it goes. I mean, when you have a passionate fan base, you're going to get the back end of that passion sometime, and that's the way it goes.
Beast's going to eat one bomb and just see his health pool disappear slightly. He will get a bit of sustain off of Jose, but the Divine Ruin will limit some of that out of XCovi here. Like the split push coming out from InControl, though. Have the Bakasura split push on the right-hand side so they can take away all these towers and maybe even find a cheeky pick on the rotation.
Kino survived last time. Don't know if he'll be quite as lucky if that were to rerun. Though he does have that Heartward Amulet complete now, is working on Kasari too. So it'll help him out. He's got good magical protection, and building Magic D is definitely the way to go against InControl's roster, because if you only have a little bit of magic defense, it'll get stripped so quickly from Ghastly Breath and all the flat pen that XCovi has built. I like that XCovi doesn't go for Obsidian Shard here because he really doesn't need it. Shaolin will strip away a lot of those protections for him, and the Spear of the Magus ticks quickly with the Agni passive. I really like the way XCovi's built so far.
Next Fire Giants up in 23 seconds time. Do Insomnia look to defend this? Is that the real hope of getting themselves back in this game if they can strip this away?
No, you have to take every fight underneath your Phoenix at this point, and that's the harm in falling behind 16K gold. Now, the good news, if there is any, for Insomnia is that this Fire Giant that they're about to give up isn't enhanced because it's only 23 minutes in, so this isn't going to be as strong as a Fire Giant will get.
Cool, but that means that if they don't end the game off this Fire Giant, the next one will be.
Correct.
Maybe they can get another Phoenix down, though. We'll find out. It looks like Digit and Jose are kind of hanging around this area. It's going to be Digit on his own. Has to be pretty careful about the whole CC chain. XCovi's going to be swinging right about now. He's just starting to climb the player damage on this Agni up to 10,000. Problem for Insomnia, though, they've just not managed to get kills.
They 4 kills so far. I mean, the full CDR build from Jose when he's fired 3 snipes all game doesn't seem to work very well. He doesn't have enough player damage. Digit hasn't put an aggressive cage down except for the one on the tier 2 on left that was immediately phantomed away. You have to be using cage early and often. You have to be using snipe early and often. And Insomnia has just been so reserved and on the back foot all game long that they haven't ever been able to use our ultimates, utilize the fact that they're low cooldown, reset, and get back in.
You can see how rough it is for Insomnia when 3 members are trying to split push to pick up some farm on that left-hand side. It will keep the fire minions at bay from that Phoenix that's about to respawn, though, for Insomnia on the left. But InControl now mounting an offense on the right. 2 Magi's Blessing is going to cause a lot of problems here. Or Magi's Cloaks, I should say, for stripping away the CC.
Ton onto Outbound, gets the beads, but Kino immediately getting shredded. Shell
Still
is
alive.
there, but he's still up.
And they're still trying to dive him for a second or two on the backside of that fight, though. Jox went in with the Fear No Evil. Outbound got very low, but in the sky, hovers in time to stay alive. Digitbloze forced back. Kino still hanging around with no health at the moment. The Phoenix stands. However, everybody in control is alive.
Kino knows he can just go heal in the fountain and
then
then ult
back
in, right? Yeah.
Shaolin going to dive in with a blink there just to make sure there's a bit of zone work to allow his team to work on the Phoenix. Bombs down from XCovi weren't on the mark, but the stun after the fact was keeping Jox at bay. Flame Wave not available, but the Path of Flames will be enough for Shaolin to burn him down with the disgusting % damage that Cerberus brings.
Cerberus just huge at this point. And what looks as good as it'll get for Insomnia, they still end up with no kills. Snipe come from Jose, tickles Shaolin, and still plenty healthy.
And that's the gold lead more than anything else means that they don't have the items to do the damage to these frontline tanks. Insomnia in game 1 have their backs against the wall. The left-hand Phoenix is already weakened, and I understand why InControl are quite happy to continue sieging mid.
But their fire wave is pretty far away and left. They do have to be wary of that.
Ult coming out from Shaolin, though, is at the same time the ring dropped down by Digit, trapping a few inside. On the back of that, Rygaklu does manage to find Jose for free. The Ra is dead, some sustain has gone. And now it's a couple of tanks and a Jing way to try and defend Insomnia's hopes in game 1.
Digit stunned. Digit could be gone, but gets the Athena ultimate to keep him up. Great instincts there by Rygaklu. As soon as the front line from Insomnia goes in, he goes up and over them, straight into the back line. No one to peel for Jose.
This is the final Phoenix. Jox has his ultimate available as Shaolin frontlines again. All 3 Phoenixes are down, and it's not an easy task to get back into the game from here.
But they don't have a fire wave, and that means that they might not be able to end at this
next
exact
one's coming
moment.
on left.
They do have one coming from left. This one minion wave in mid isn't fire, but is pretty big, and there's a fire wave coming from right. I like InControl hanging around here. Don't let the pressure off.
They're going to go for the end now. 26 minutes in the game. They've kept the pressure pretty much since minute 1. Insomnia got off to a good start with first blood, but it wasn't good enough. InControl, like I said, are the namesake to take game 1 in this best of 3.
And you can't be surprised with how they were able to play that mid-game and early game. I mean, Shaolin was a monster on that Cerberus basically all game long. Outbound played well, did choke the solo kill, but still played well overall. xCovi, the calm, cool, collected mid laner that you expect after having so much LAN success. This is what I expected from InControl.
And meanwhile, though, Insomnia, they got off to a good start. Was there anything issue with picks and bans there, you feel?
Yeah, I'm not putting Jose on Raw again, because clearly that if you're not going to be able to hit those snipes off Fear No Evil, that's not a pick you should be going for. I'm changing Jose's pick. I'm changing Digit's pick because I need to get him some sort of safety in lane up against the Cerberus. And again, I think that the idea was there to pick the Odin after they picked Terra. They clearly know that InControl values that pick. It's a good idea. Maybe give the Odin to Jox. I don't know. I just think that there needs to be a little bit more aggressiveness in the early game in order, if you want to see that out of Insomnia, and find a victory in game 2.
Very interesting game 1. It is a best of 3 after all, so back to the drawing board we go. Do we get a game 3? Let's ask the desk.
Well, after that performance, it might be tough to say. We'll certainly get a chance to see, though, in Game 2. Thanks again, Casters, Finch, and Taco here after a very strong Game 1, I would say, from InControl. And you heard them towards the end highlighting Shaolin on this Cerberus. For me, I think that was the really important part of this matchup.
For me, it felt like Shaolin was everything. He had complete lane dominance throughout the majority of the laning phase. And not only that, but those early game rotations were so impactful and dead on. Because every single time Shaolin showed up to the fight, it was immediately over, and there was never really an opportunity for Digitbloze to ever really rotate and try to match that.
It really did feel like that cage was primarily being used defensively from him, and a lot of that was on the back of Shaolin and what he was able to do. He was able to come behind the tier 1 tower in mid and clean up a kill. He was able to drop down the ultimate in the fight they had beyond the Gold Fury on the left-hand side of the map. I definitely like what Shaolin was able to do, maybe a little bit to clean up in lane, but certainly once the team fight started happening, I don't know what more you could ask for. Great from that Cerberus.
I'm more in agreement with Aggro, though. I think that not only do some of the pick selections need to change, but just in general, I don't think that Insomnia can afford to let Cerberus through again, because Shaolin was just way too dominant on this god pick choice. And anytime you see a player as hot with a choice, doesn't matter whether it's normally considered a top priority ban or not, you want to strip that one away.
He absolutely made it work for the rest of his team, and you could even see that, even xCovi was sort of building like he had the Cerberus on the team, right? Rygaklu was getting fed constantly because Cerberus was literally bringing people to him. It really did sort of accelerate for the rest of the team what we saw happening in that matchup. So Rygaklu was able to look really good. Outbound was able to play very well for them as well, but I did feel like it kind of started from Shaolin, and Joltak as well on this Terra also had a big impact.
It just felt like xCovi was free to do whatever he wanted throughout the whole match. I mean, how many times did we catch him just dashing in with zero concern for his own life, but just understanding, hey, I've got my Terra, I've got my Cerberus right behind me. There is no reason for me to be concerned. I also really like the Bakasura ganks and the timings that came with them, because we saw this Regurgitate being used primarily to activate that cripple.
That was the real key, was once he was able to help get that lockdown, things were able to work. Now this is the gank that we saw that the blink, I think, from Shaolin must have been put into combat, so he missed it. But fortunately, Rygaklu was right there to get into the back line and clean that kill up anyway. One of the rare things, I think, that was a misfire from them in a game where InControl looked very, very good. So even when things maybe weren't exactly the way that they wrote them up, Rygaklu was able to clean them up.
It was a great, I think, thought process from Insomnia here to go for the Odin, because they recognized that there was some punishing opportunities against the Terra and the Agni. It's just hard to make those come to fruition whenever your Raw is prioritizing cooldown. So it's not like Jose was really able to provide any real team sustain. Not only that, but Insomnia, whenever you fall that far behind, your healer composition never really has a chance to reveal itself. Jose was just constantly on the back hill, constantly being pressured underneath his own T1 tower, and not even just the T1, caught out multiple instances on his own red buff even.